Welcome to the Divine Lifestyles Podcast. I'm your host, Tara Magalski. Together with my guest experts, I cover topics ranging from cutting-edge healing modalities to hormonal harmony, to nutrition and plant medicine, to mindfulness and spirituality. My goal is to educate and inspire so you can create your own divine lifestyle. It's time to dive inward, rewire your brain, and heal from the inside out. Welcome to the Divine Lifestyles Podcast. I'm your host, Tara Magalski. Today, I'm joined by the beautiful Nicole Lovince. Nicole is a multi-hyphenate talent, actress, singer, songwriter, podcaster, public speaker, and certified Theta Healer. She is the creator and curator of the Goddess Bath Experience. She helps women from diverse backgrounds create and learn to sustain a self-care ritual called the Goddess Bath. And she also curates monthly events, group coaching programs, and has a Goddess Bath subscription box. So I can't wait to learn a little bit more about that. Thank you so much for being here, Nicole.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. I'm excited about a juicy conversation.
Yes. And girl, you're on fire. I mean, you have your hand in everything. You're my kind of gal. So let's start from the beginning. Before we get into the Goddess Bath Experience, tell us, did you grow up singing and acting? Like, where did this theater and entertainment gene come from?
Yeah, I grew up in it. You know, I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. That's where I was born and raised. And I'm sure it's no secret to anyone who has any understanding of the city of New Orleans. It's a very musically, creative, theatrically inclined, and mystically inclined city. So I grew up around the arts. Like, New Orleans is an arts-based city. So we like to say it's in the blood or in the water. As we say in New Orleans. And so my father was also a musician. Both of my grandmothers played instruments and sang as well. So it was like in my blood to do, but I was the first one to really carry it on as a profession. And I can remember one of my earliest memories as a child was when I performed. And I remember like being in a school play, because New Orleans, at least when I was a child, we had really elaborate like drama programs. And we would all these schools would have like royal courts because of Mardi Gras. If you're unaware, every parade also has a royal court that's attached to it. So when I was a child, most schools would kind of follow suit, as where we would have like these royal courts as well that were a part of like the curriculum for the drama program. So I remember just being this kid and like having to rehearse for the show, rehearse for the numbers, like going to like wardrobe fittings and like helping with making the programs, and then like being behind stage and like everybody running around, getting things together, and then getting all my hair and makeup done. And then I remember just having this distinct memory of like when my time came to like be presented to the audience right before I was being presented for the royal court and to do my performance, I come out in my dress and my hair and makeup is all done. And I just remember the audience just having this like collective like moment, this like gasp. And I was hooked. From that moment on, like I knew I wanted that feeling forever. Like I loved every bit of it. I wanted to like be in community creating. I wanted to get all dressed up. And then I love the applause. I mean, I can't lie. I'm just going to be honest. Like, there's nothing like performing live with an audience and you co-creating that experience and just feeling the energy of like them understanding something that took months to prepare, and them getting the message, and then you receiving in real time that love back, and you're in this beautiful co-creation of tribe. And so like, yeah, from 5 years old on up until adulthood, like I was hooked. I love the experience and the experiment of like co-creating something in tribe. And that's, to me, that's what performance is. It's the co-creation of art and being in that space together.
I love that. I love that. And you've had a lot of amazing successes, and you've shared the screen with some very big names. Do you want to tell us a little bit about some of the movies that you were in?
Yeah. So Pitch Perfect is probably the most notable. It's one of my most recognized roles, where I worked with Anna Kendrick, Anna Camp, Rebel Wilson, Adam Devine. I also worked on Pawn Shop Chronicles with Brendan Fraser and Ashley Simpson, Elijah Wood. And both of those I was also on the soundtrack for as well. I've worked on NCIS New Orleans, a host of Amazon movies. I've done different commercials, theater as well, a lot of independent film. I just love the independent film community. It's just, there's nothing better than like just telling these really unique, eclectic stories, like talk about tribe. So I'm all over. You can Google me, find out all the
I
things.
love it. And tell us a little bit about your music. I know that you write, you produce, you perform your own original music.
Yeah, so I've been performing under the name Free the Unicorn up until now, and I can deep dive just a little briefly into that. As an artist, I'm sure you've seen many artists, they don't always go by their first name. And for me, I'm working on my first full project right now, which will be done later in this year. We'll be releasing it. And I found when I was releasing singles, some of my original music, that I was hiding behind this name. I was hiding behind my artist name because I felt like I needed to separate. Like I didn't feel like I could fully express who I was in music and also be that artist in acting as well, also working in the spiritual realm as well. I felt like there was some sort of like, there needed to be some sort of separation. And in reality, all parts of me are always welcome. Like I don't need to separate and compartmentalize myself. I am who I am. And I get to bring all of my unique talents to the forefront. So up until now, everything that's out on Spotify and Amazon and Apple and Tidal is under the name Free the Unicorn. But my new album that will drop later this year will be under my name, Nicole, because one of the things that I'm growing into and that I've grown into as an artist, and especially doing all of the spiritual work, is that there's no need for me to hide.
Mm-hmm.
There's no need for me to hide. And that's such a message for anybody that's like listening. Like all parts of you are welcome. You get to stand in the full truth and brilliance of who you are. And so for me, stepping into using my name for everything that I do was like one of the biggest shifts of my life, because I always thought I needed to separate parts of me to be accepted. And I don't need to do that anymore. So you'll be able to find me under my name, Nicole Lovince. And the music it's beautiful. It has an R&B base, but you'll hear influences from jazz, pop, rock, a little bit of metal in there. You'll also hear like this really funky, like spiritual music vibe. It's like this, like, I don't even know what the genre is called. And I'm sure, Tara, you probably have heard it, but there's like this movement of like spirituality music. It's like almost like
It's
hip hop.
global music, right? It's like
Yeah.
global. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like this new spiritual, like R&B vibe of music that's developing right now. So there's a little bit of that in there. And I'm a New Orleans artist through and through. Like if you've ever listened to any other New Orleans artists like Trombone Shorty or Tank and the Bangers, it's like you hear influences from everything. It's not really one genre. And it's because of how we grew up, listening to a lot of different genres of music, being in and around live music all the time. So it's this beautiful amalgamation of like all your favorite things when it comes to music.
I love it. So how did you go from the entertainment? How did you go from that career in movies and in music to Theta Healing and the Goddess Bath experience?
I don't even know that I like it. I love that question because I don't know that I moved from, again, back to this piece about hiding who we are.
Evolved.
It was always there. Like I was that weird kid that loved like mystical arts and the mysticism. Like everything that I watched was all about like wizards and witches and shamans and dragons and dinosaurs, whatever. Dinosaurs are real, but like I was always into that. And I was always into astrology and tarot. Like I had a very clear understanding of what that was from a very young age. And so I would sit around and have these deep conversations with any other child or person that I would meet that would have these really mystical kind of experiences. Like I was that child that was like clairaudient, clairsentient. Like I was hearing things, seeing things, like spirits and entities could touch me. Like I was having those very, what's the word for it? I keep saying mystical for lack of a better word, but these very like spiritual experiences at a really young age. So I always had an awareness of the other side. I always had an awareness of the deepness and the gravity of the spiritual side, because I was always highly intuitive and highly spiritual. I was always very highly attuned to the other side. To the veil was always lifted for me. So I had a clear connection to that always, but I hid it because I didn't believe that I could be this Hollywood actress like I wanted to be, but also be out in the forefront, speaking my truth in that way. Also, I grew up in a very religious, very traditional, deep Southern Baptist religious household and upbringing. And that was just not the thing. That was not smiled upon. It wasn't the cool thing that it is now for us all to talk about. That it was very taboo to talk about, like, oh, like I'm having visions that are happening, my dreams are coming true, like I'm seeing spirits, I'm hearing spirits, I'm able to connect. That was not a conversation in the early 90s that like people were having openly, certainly not 7, 8-year-old, 9-year-old child, let alone like having these conversations. So I like hid that side of myself. And whenever I found another person or another kid who also was having those experiences, we would be in our own little bubble having that conversation. And then the older I got, I would find tribe. And I started to realize like, oh my God, there's a whole world out here. There's so many of us out here doing this work. So the older I got and the more connected I got, the safer I felt to share my gifts and to share my upbringing. And not only that, but my grandmothers, one of my grandmothers, and then one of my great aunts and my great grandmother also practice. Like I grew up in homes with altars and like lighting candles and like having talisman on those altars and like doing little rituals with herbs. And like I learned the bath from my grandmothers. So it was around, even though the women in my family weren't like putting it at the forefront, like they were quietly in the background, like passing down these codes that have been in our family. So it was around without being around. And the more I found tribe and the more I felt safe, because that's really what it was about for me. I didn't feel safe. Like I had this code, I carried this code that has now been cleared, that I would be killed for being a healer. And so that was never a part of the plan for me to show up in this way at all. It was not on the agenda. And of course was like, actually, no, this is a part of your agenda. This is a part of your work.
Well, I am like 100% agree. This was not on my agenda either.
Yeah. So you get it. It wasn't on the agenda. And, you know, the more you do this work and you step into your light and your fullness, you have no choice but to answer.
I always say when spirit has something for your life bigger than you will not be able to stray. It's like spirit will not let you stray. I tried so hard that I was going to, move to Hollywood. I was acting and I was doing all these things. And then it was like, boom, no, divine lifestyles. And I'm like, no, I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go do this. And just keeps coming back.
Yeah, I feel the same way. So here I am, that's how it came to be. And COVID had a lot to do with that as well, as it shifted life for so many of us. And that's when it really came online. It was very clear of like, it was time for this to come into the forefront, because we're in the age of enlightenment right now, the age of technology. Like the whole world is awakening to mass collective consciousness. And so all the light workers, all the leaders of this movement, we are waking up left and right. There is no choice. We are being called. And what I've noticed as well, there's no separation from Hollywood. Like my piece of the puzzle is I am here to bridge the gap between Hollywood and spirituality. Like Hollywood rules so many things in society, how we talk, how we walk, how we dress. What do we deem is the cool thing to talk about? And that's a lot of power to wield around, not just in the States, but it determines that for the entire world. It is the largest industry in the world. And so when we talk about it and we look at it from that perspective, like obviously it makes sense that I understand and I still move in that way, because I've booked films because of the conversations that I've had around manifestation. Like I'm the one on set now talking about manifestation, talking about healing generational curses. Like we get to be in this space because if you have this level of people with that level of power making the decisions on the messages that goes out to the masses, like we have work to do, light workers. We get to be at the forefront of this industry. We get to be in the boardrooms. It's important because it's the mass collective that this industry is leading. Like that messaging is going out into the world. So it's working together hand in hand, because that's where I get to be. That's how I shine, with my performance in front of the camera. And I carry these very unique spiritual codes. So I get to use them both to do the work, to
I
reach.
love it. I love it. And I do want to just dive a little bit deeper there with you. I wanted to ask you, like, how does your family, because I know that I get some pushback from people. I grew up very Catholic. I also grew up, a little bit of a born again Christian and all of that. And I love God, and I feel that sometimes, like, moving into, like, fully stepping into this power that I've been working with divine lifestyles, people are like, what is she doing with the sage? What are you doing with the stones? And so sometimes there can be a lot of judgment.
Mm.
I wanted to know, coming from a very Baptist family, like, have you experienced that? And, how does that affect the work that you do?
Yeah, I would say childhood, I really felt it. And I was always that kid that was just different and unique. And I think now my family just, like, I'm me. And like the general phrase in the family is like, Nicole is going to be Nicole. She's always been her. Like, I have always been this eclectic beam of light. Like, I've always been like having these conversations. I've always gone out and done the thing that's different. I've always gone out and done the thing that's taboo is my normal. And I think now my family is like, it makes sense to them because this has always been who I am. And whether they accept it or not, they're not putting that into my space. Like, it doesn't get to land anymore because of the work that I'm doing. But I'm also a firm believer in, like, when we start to shift and we're rooted in that, then the world around us starts to shift. So some things that used to reach us and that used to land from our family or our friends, it just doesn't anymore because we're not even operating on the same frequency. It just doesn't even land. And I feel like I'm definitely blessed in that regard because, like, my family, I don't get that judginess anymore. And to be honest, because of the self-work that I've done, I don't even know if it was really even there from the beginning or if that was the story I was telling myself. And so the deeper you go into your self-work journey, you start to realize how much of it is actually you and how much of it is actually coming from outside of you. Because really, when you're rooted in who you are, there's very little that lands because you understand it has nothing to do with you. It's them and their experience and what's
Exactly.
and so for me, even if it is there, I don't even know that I'm cognizant to it anymore because it just does not land because I'm so clear about who I am and how I get to show up in this space that it just doesn't even rock me in that way.
Love that.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
doesn't land.
I love it. It's showing up in the fullness of your power. I've got an exciting offer for all of my listeners. The free Divine Daily Practices video series. Get simple practices to release anxious thoughts, sharpen your intuition, and rewire your nervous system in less than 10 minutes a day. Come on over to my website at divinelifestyles.com/divine daily practices. And over the next week, you'll receive a complimentary self-care system to drop into your authentic self and activate your divine intuitive wisdom. I hope you enjoy. So tell me, what is this goddess bath experience?
Oh, it's so juicy and it's so good and it's so fun. And for those of you who are not women and don't identify as a woman, you can choose to say goddess or goddess, bath or shower. And this,
I love that.
and this experience is an experience. You know, it's a self-care ritual. It's a pleasure ritual. It's a ceremony. And to do anything in ritual, it means it's being done over and over again. And for it to be done in ritual and to be done in ceremony, there are some steps and some ways to do it. So the simplest thing that I can say is that it is a ritualistic bath that you use in order to heal or to manifest. That is like the baseline definition. And so there's a couple of different ways you can go around or go about really turning this into a ceremony, into a ritual, whether it's a bath or a shower. But really at its core, what makes it different is it's done in ritual and it's done with intention. That's the biggest difference from just a regular like bubble bath or bath that you would take. There's intention
Mhm.
and there's ceremony attached to it. And really it's mostly the intention, right? Like what is the intention for this bath? Say the intention is you're calling in your romantic partner. That's the intention. So you want to bless that water or speak to that water or say a prayer over that water. That's your intention of whatever it is you're releasing or calling in, because the water holds information. It's programmable. It's intelligent. It holds wisdom, right? There's been so many studies done on water. I believe his name is Dr. Kimoto. It's one of the most famous studies on water where he wrote positive words on a glass of frozen water and then what we would consider negative words on a glass of frozen water. And water then froze it. So then when after the water was frozen, the water that had the positive words formed these beautiful like snowflake shapes. And then the water that froze with the negative words had these really sharp, protruding, weird, jagged looking shapes. And so from that perspective, we get to know that we can speak to water. It's intelligent. It's alive. It can hold wisdom and information. And so if we're taking it from that perspective and you are setting your intention, blessing that water, speaking to it, praying over it with whatever your intention is, then when you're in that water is hitting you, all of those codes are going into you physically and energetically. And then we are what? 70% water. I'm sure most of us have heard this phrase, change your words, change your life. Like the mindset
Yeah.
is important. It's no different. It's how we speak to ourselves because our
Mhm.
bodies are also intelligent, right? And so the water is the same way. And so that's what makes this such a powerful tool and ritual to use, because if you're living in any kind of first world situation, you definitely have at least a shower in your home. You're cleansing yourself, right?
Yes. And I
And
love
some,
water to clean the energy and to clear yourself. So I love the letting go. What is in the box?
yeah. So the box it's different every single time we curate it. So right now it's only offered inside of our Full Moon Manifestation Circle membership or inside of my coaching program. And so what's inside of the box, we have mini boxes and then we have large luxury boxes. So the mini boxes, you'll get around 3 products and they're always curated depending on what I'm sourcing at the time, because I work with female branded entrepreneurs as well that have spiritual products. So I'm always in communication with other businesses. That's one of the proud moments too around this box is
Mhm.
each of the products are also coming from another female entrepreneur. So you're supporting so many businesses with this box. So the last one we had like a Celestine wand to use like to bless your bath with or to just be
Mhm.
in other ceremony. We also had we have a custom made bath bomb that is typically in the box. So those we work with, Whipped Up Wonderful is the company that we work with, and that's a female owned brand. She hand makes these beautiful, luxurious bath bombs. So we have a goddess bath experience custom bath bomb that we have curated and made with her. So that one's in there and it's beautiful. It's like, it looks like the universe when you put it in the water. It's like, it's black. So you dim your lights, like the water's black, like you're floating in the universe. And there's a lot of gold glitter and sparkles in it and crystals and crowns in it. So you're literally like, it looks like you're just floating in the universe. It's so good. We also do like sage bundles or Palo Santo, feathers. We've also had like body oils or bath oils. We've also done like shower steamers. We've also done like herbs, like sachets of herbs, like fresh dried rose and lavender and things to put in the water. Bubble bath, handmade bubble bath. So it runs the gambit: tea, cacao,
Yeah,
like all kinds of goodies in the box.
I love it. Sounds like something I want every month.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about your membership that you have.
Yes. So it's our Full Moon Manifestation membership. It's for women or those who identify as women. And we meet once a month on the full, well, actually, we meet twice a month. So we meet on the full moon for 90 minutes. We actually have one today. Yay.
Yes. I was gonna say today.
Today is a full moon as we record this. So sending out all the Scorpion full moon, which is my full moon. So sending out all the love. So we meet on the full moon for 90 minutes. So I lead in a guided meditation or visualization or activation for that month, depending on the energy. Like right now we're in eclipse season. We're going into Mercury retrograde. Like it's the Scorpio full moon. It's also Cinco de Mayo. So I take whatever energy is in the space and I curate the meditation based on what's alive that month to guide us. And then I curate a journal prompt just the same. And then I also give them homework for the next 28 days, like things that they can journal every single day for the next 28 days until we meet. And then there's a lot of sharing. That's one of the things that we do a lot of in the Goddess Bath experience is like every time I do an event, anytime you work with me, there's an opportunity to share because this is a place where you get to come online to all of your gifts, all of your talents, be seen, heard, witnessed, celebrated, laugh, scream, cry, shout. So whatever you need to do, it's a place where you get to be seen and witnessed, and we hold space and we share tools together. So that's what happens in the membership. And then all of the recordings go into the portal. There's other meditations. Our full Goddess Bath recipe library is there. I share a Goddess Bath recipe every single month. That's there. And then we also meet once a month for something called a safe space salon. So that's just a sharing circle. It's not recorded. It's not mandatory, but it's just a safe space that we hold for 1 hour. And you come with whatever is alive for you. And, you know, sometimes women are celebrating things. Sometimes women are holding on to something heavy and they just need to be held and seen in that space. And so it's a sharing circle. It's a council meeting. It's something that women have done in tribe for thousands of years. Gather around the fire and we share. And so that's
love it.
Yeah. So that's the Full Moon Manifestation Circle membership.
I love it. I love all the things that you're up to. You have so much wisdom at such a young age. So I have to ask you this. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Oof. This question, Queen. Oh, man. I gotta think on that.
I know. Don't think too hard. Let it just be when it comes up. But I know it's a good one.
Yeah. Oh, man. What's the best piece of advice? Yeah, it was recent. Trust myself. Myself. One of my mentors recently told me, he was like, you know, everyone around you trusts you. Everyone. That's just the space that you hold. And he was like, you know what happens when you trust you? He was like, the world will lay at your feet. And so, yeah, that's the biggest advice. And then there's one other that's coming up. So trust yourself to anyone who's watching and listening. Just trust yourself. You know, your higher self is with you always.
Yeah.
The divine is with you always. Like, trust yourself. You know, even if it doesn't make sense, you know, you know, and you can feel that voice. So trust yourself. And then the other biggest advice that I got is that feedback doesn't get to land. It gets to land, but it doesn't get to land. So we roam around in a world where we're constantly being given feedback, whether it's like your hair is too long or too short, or you're too skinny or too fat, or you're too smart or you're not smart enough, or you're too pretty or not pretty enough. Like we're constantly in an age of feedback, especially with social media. And one of the biggest advice that I just was given was that it doesn't get to land. Like you can take it in and you can hear it, but it doesn't get to dictate how you move through the world.
Yeah.
It doesn't get to land.
I love that. I love that. All right, girl. What's coming up? What's next for you? I know you're going to Egypt on Tuesday.
Egypt on Tuesday to facilitate. This has been the trip of a lifetime. I have been plotting and visualizing this Egypt trip for a very long time since I was a little girl. My connection to this land is so strong, so I cannot wait to touch down because it's going to be so huge. So Egypt is next. We're also moving into our Leading Lady Challenge. This is the second time that we'll be doing this event. It's a 10-day challenge. It's free to those who are women or identify as women. And the Leading Lady Challenge is all about releasing self-sabotaging behavior so that you can manifest with celebrity level confidence. So we'll be having over 20 plus guest speakers. who are all epic manifestation masters, who all live and lead the leading lady lifestyle. So you'll be getting a lot of codes from not only me, but from over 20 plus women who just live extraordinary lives. We'll also be giving away gifts as well. We've got a lot of brand sponsors. So it's going to be a really fun, juicy container. Like last year, we had over 400 women register and come through the experience. There's a lot of sharing that happens. There's a private Facebook community, so you're supported and held the entire time. So that's what's next. And then this summer, I'll have my next coaching program. The doors will be open for that. It's called the It Girl Experience. Turning on, like, how do you really truly be grounded in your it girl energy, the cool girl energy, like living like I like to call it the Barbie lifestyle, right? Because Barbie seems to have it all. Barbie's got the dream house, she's got 50 million careers, she's got every car, every house, every boyfriend, it's all the things, right? So it's like, how do you live that way in your life? Like, how do you have the it girl factor across every area of your life? Because that's how I choose to get down. So that is all about that. So, and we'll be doing an in-person retreat in Tulum as well in September. So those are all the things that are coming.
So much to talk about. So we need another hour on the podcast, but where can people find you online and learn more about your work?
So I'm most happening on Instagram. I'm most active there. And that's literally just my name, at Nicole Lovince. You can literally find all my things with my name. So at Nicole Lovince on Instagram, and then the Goddess Bath Experience. So you would just do goddessbaths.com. Super simple. Goddessbaths.com. And we've got free gifts there. So join the community. If you want to connect with me personally, just shoot me a little DM on Instagram. I am the one that handles it. I will respond back to you. So you can go ahead and reach out to me there.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for listening to this episode of Divine Lifestyles Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you get your episodes. If you really loved this episode, screenshot it and share it on social media. It will help us to continue to make an impact. With gratitude and love always, keep illuminating your path.